Hello and welcome back to the W. I am your host Lucas. This is going to be a solo episode. This is my second solo episode of the W, and I'm still finding my feet, I think, and comfortability with recording a solo podcast. You might have also heard on the Deep 2 podcast network, Sean Carroll with the Quick Time Out, and I feel like he's really gotten a knack of it, so hopefully I can channel my inner Sean Carroll and make this the greatest podcast you've ever listened to in your life. So for the first time, I think actually ever in my podcasting experience, which started in October of 2020, that's over 3 years ago now, I actually know the title of this episode ahead of time, like before I've started recording, which is pretty cool. And it is trends setting in the WNBL. So yeah, I feel like through 4 rounds, most teams have played 5 games. I've got, I've come prepared. I've got notes. Not only do I have notes, all teams have played 5 games. I've got the ladder open, team stats open, and league leaders open. So this is that channeling my inner Sean Carroll. I feel like solo. I feel like usually we have a funny story. Oh yeah, no, I actually do have a funny story. It's not that funny. It's just more of me being a fool. Sunday rolled around. I got my WNBL media accreditation. Shout out to the WNBL. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. The games I can get to are the games at the Boombox. I was away when Melbourne versed Bendigo at the Boombox, but I was in Melbourne for the game on Sunday where Melbourne versed the Capitals of Canberra. And 2 o'clock rolled around. I was like, oh, perfect. I'm going to get to the game with plenty of time. I don't really know what the workflow is going to be like at a game, but if I give myself, usually I like to get to a game an hour early and just mess around, get everything in order, see the players warm up, see tip off. That's that's a non-negotiable for me. If I'm covering a game, I have to see the tip off in the first few minutes, laptop down, no one talk to me, that sort of thing. But yeah, you probably got anyone that's listening to this, well, most people that are listening to this will probably know where this is going, but I got to the Boombox at 2:30, half an hour before the game, and I was like, I went inside to, the sports center, Melbourne Sports Center's in Parkville, and there was a sweet old man, and he was like, hey, how you going? And I was like, I'm going good, man. How are you? And he was like, yeah, good. What are you here? What are you here for? And I was like, oh, the WNBL. And the guy was like, sorry? And I was like, the basketball. And he was like, And I was like the main court? And he was like, oh, yes, stadiums. Courts 1 and 2. Go through there. And I was like, great, thanks, man. And then I went to the court, and not a basketball in sight. The seats were packed away. And I was like, that's funny. The game's in half an hour. How this turnaround's going to have to be ridiculously quick. And then I was like, let me just double check the games here. And of course I checked Instagram. The game was being played in Gippsland. So I felt like a fool. And I was like, oh man, they must have rescheduled the game. Absolutely, they did not reschedule the game. WNBL released an updated fixture. I want to say before round 1 or between rounds 1 and 2. And yeah, this was not one of the amended games. This game was always going to be in Gippsland. So shout out to me, and shout out to being prepared, being informed, being on top of things. So yeah, that was pretty awesome by me. But this, the first 4 minutes have been about me. The remaining X amount of minutes will not be about me. The remaining X amount of minutes will be about the 4 of the WNBL teams. I feel like Southside, Melbourne, and Townsville are all fine. I feel like if trends were to be setting for these teams, they'd probably be pretty happy about that. And I also think that Sydney still just need time and health and time to generate some continuity. I'd say the only note I have for the Flames of Sydney would be that it doesn't feel like they've really put together 40 purposeful minutes. But I think that that's something that'll be ironed out over time. Gaining familiarity, and health mainly, and stuff like that. But I really think Sydney will be fine. And I think most people listening will agree with that. Southside, I mean, they're probably... I feel like maybe the only cause for concern is that they're peaking too early, but like a team with, the experience of Bet Cole, Lauren Jackson, bringing in Mercedes Russell, who's just been like incredible, and then led by Maddie Rocci, I get a feeling pacing themselves, they're going to be good at pacing themselves, and I feel like maybe I'm reaching there a little bit to try and find something to complain about. Melbourne, I think Melbourne's still far from their best basketball, and they're 5-0. And I feel like through the first 5 games, Jordan Canada has been electric. And they haven't really... It hasn't really even been about basketball for them yet. It's just been about winning. And they found a way to win every game. And yeah, Christy Wallace still hasn't come back. So yeah, I think Melbourne is satiating the winning side of things, and I think the basketball's only going to get better, which is crazy to say for a team that's 5-0. And then Townsville, like the premiers last year, they might be better this year. I might be crazy in saying that, but they look completely fine offensively and defensively. They dictate every move of every game. So yeah, I would say those 4 teams, in terms of trend setting and ironing out any issues, I feel like these 4 teams are fine. And it's the other 4 teams that maybe need to make some amendments to the way they're operating. So left we have the UC Capitals, who I've already mentioned, the Adelaide Lightning, the Perth Lynx, and the Bendigo Spirit. And I'm going to start with the Capitals because they're the most interesting one for me. I feel like they play extremely nice basketball. And they're led by, I hate to use the word superstar. Oh, sorry, I don't hate to. I hesitate to use the word superstar with any basketball league because it's hard to say that someone's a superstar. Like you're really putting them on the top tier of the league. But I think Jade Melbourne's a superstar, and it isn't translating to wins. I feel like the game against Melbourne was the best example of this. They had an 8-point lead with 4.5 minutes left after a Monica Okoye 3. But when it came time to win, the Boomers, especially behind Jordan Canada in this one, found a way. The Caps went to the line, went 0 for 2, and then I think the next possession down the court for the Capitals, Monica Okoye kind of got lured into an illegal screen on, who guessed it, but Jordan Canada again. And then the next time down the court for the Boomers, they made their 2 free throws, and the game was tied at 69, like 2 minutes after the Caps had an 8-point advantage. And yeah, with 2 minutes left in the game, you're coming up against Melbourne, especially this UC Capitals team coming up against Melbourne. I mean, Melbourne's going to win that 99 times out of 100. Jade did her best to will her team to win, especially down the end. She kind of just put a bucket getting hat on and she got buckets. But yeah, once it went to OT, the momentum had shifted and it was maintained by the Boomers. So I really feel like we saw the best and the worst of the Capitals in this game. And yeah, playing good basketball is great, but winning seems to be a different thing. And this is going to sound so basic and so simple, but I really think the Capitals just need to win a game and see what momentum can be generated from that. They're playing great basketball. They're playing nice, like smooth offense. Alex Sharp's been incredible on the glass. Jade Melbourne, as I said, is a superstar. Okoye, although a streaky shooter, just like can piece together a few threes back to back, and that's a massive advantage on the scoreboard. And I've really enjoyed watching them play every single game. They play with a great pace. They really seem to be playing their own game, and they're forming an identity. I just think they need to get a win to see they can win. Get the monkey off their back. Because if it this basketball doesn't really need to scale up that much more. I don't actually think it needs to scale up at all. Yeah, it is just like gritting out a win at the end of a game, or doing the work early and being able to semi-coast in the last quarter just so they can finish the game with a win. Because they're really like, they're doing great things for basketball, for viewers, and they have some of, if not the best fans, some of the best fans in the league. So it's hard to like pinpoint one thing for the Capitals. Maybe fouls, maybe they can cut back on their fouls, maybe they can be a bit more disciplined defensively, but I feel like coming up against more experienced teams, you're going to be the team that fouls more, and you're going to get lured into those Monica Okoye, or whoever it may be on any given possession, illegal screens. I feel like their game against Southside, I can remember a few times Mercedes Russell just getting like, being wide open under the paint, in the paint, and just getting fouled because you want to send them to the line and not give up the easy two. Moving on to Perth. If you listen to the most recent W episode with Marco, I really liked the way they've played all season long. They seem to retain their identity throughout a game. They get great looks. They play for each other. They play with energy. They can junk up the game and find clarity in the junk. In round 4, however, after a 3-0 start, they went 0-2. They did play against the 2 grand finalists from last season in round 4, going up against Southside first. And, man, it was a 94-92 loss after being up for most of the game. And, that Bet Cole 3, which ended up being the game winner for Southside, was just, on great ball movement, picking apart the D. And I feel like the gap in experience was on full display in this game. That Mercedes Russell steal at the end of the game, where she left Emily Potter to make a pretty athletic play for a big, especially, and go and intercept the pass going from the top of the key to the corner, which then led to the next offensive possession, which now I'm pretty sure Perth was in a zone on this possession. But Leilani Mitchell on the right wing passes it to LJ, who's in the mid block on the right side, even like up a bit higher, kind of like up near the elbow, and then she just turns and like throws a pass from the left. Sorry, they were on the right side of the court. To get the ball in that position and then throw a cross diagonal angled pass to the right wing, which then made way for the pass into the corner for Bet Cole. And you give a 40% shooter a wide open shot, and especially someone like Bet Cole, who's like good shooter, intersects also someone that makes timely plays and makes big shots. If you give someone who blends those two things in her game that opportunity, you're going to lose. Or at least that basket is 100% going in. And it went in. I just feel like Southside's players are a little more dynamic, which feels like it came from familiarity by exposure to different situations. And, that might be the fanciest way someone's ever described experience. But, Russell leaving, Potter to get the steal, LJ making that move. These, calculated risks led directly to the win. They both happened in the last 40 seconds, at least the last 50 seconds. This is something I feel like it'll be worked out over time for the Lynx, mainly through chemistry. They still played a terrific game, and we're obviously looking at this, or I'm looking at this through the lens of the Lynx, but Southside were also playing at the same time, trying to win the same game, and they're, one of the best teams in the league. Perth played well. They had the scoreboard until the last 20-odd seconds against last year's grand finalists, gave themselves the best shot to win the game. It's just that experience. And then, 3 days later, they come up against the other grand finalists and champions, the Townsville Fire. Perth played really, really well in the first half, especially behind Amy Atwell's 21, her 21, which didn't really feel... It didn't feel random. It felt very repeatable. It felt dependable. Maybe not to the length of you can guarantee 21 points a half from her, but you can guarantee if you give her those quality looks, which seemed very doable for the Lynx, over the space of a game, a half, then yeah, she'll be a steady bucket, and yeah, add another wrinkle to the offense. And Townsville went to a press, I'm pretty sure late in the first quarter, maybe it was the second, but it took Perth out of their rhythm and got the game back on Townsville's terms. And Perth had the scoreboard throughout this entire process, but everything was being dictated by the Fire. And yeah, going into the half, the scoreboard was tight, but and Perth were playing free and getting pretty good looks, but it was just everything was being done under Townsville's kind of. Townsville was overseeing everything. They were in control of the game, and then the third quarter they just ran away with it, and yeah, did the work in the third quarter and just kept that buffer in the fourth, which is really, it seems, no matter what basketball league you're following in the world, it seems like that's really hard to do. Like, keep the scoreboard, not get complacent, and just stay steady and keep the scoreboard where it is, never letting it get too close, and just keeping like constant pressure on the other team, and then also having that poise of like, we are winning this game. So yeah, it was very impressive from Townsville's side, but Townsville impress. Ari McDonald had 0 points up until a layup with 3.5 left in the game, cutting the lead to 16. But yeah, the game was completely over at this point. And I think it's quite an achievement by the Fire, keeping Ari McDonald to 0 up until the game was pretty much over. Coming into the game, she averaged 24 points a game, and to finish this one with 4, that's incredible. But I don't feel as though... I actually think this is kind of a promising thing for the Lynx, because her not having an impact on the scoreboard wasn't really, I feel, the main issue for the Lynx during the game. Like, her and Maylee combined for 3 of 22 shooting, and, I'm not blowing any minds here, but if that's better, if that's closer to 50%, maybe that's 9 of 22 shooting or 8 of 22 shooting, that gives Perth a better chance to win. But points didn't really seem to be an issue on the night. I feel like Goodchild was really good, really dependable. Atwell was really good. Potter was incredible. Clinch Hoycard was really consistent. I've really liked her early season with the Lynx. She plays a very crucial role off the bench, and she fits with heaps of different permutations of the starters. And those players are crucial. Come the finals especially. Just those malleable players that can do a little bit of everything. But McDonald and Maylee had a great impact on the game, other than the scoring. And I feel like not just their misses, but the Lynx misses on the night was a result of like great Fire D, and that leading to a tough or a late clock or no rhythm shot for Perth. And the leaders on the Lynx were the ones taking these shots. So I don't know, there's something kind of commendable about McDonald and Maylee being like, all right, our team needs to get up a shot, it's going to be me. So moving forward, I feel like Perth are in good hands, and I feel like their 2-year plan is one of the more promising in the league. But I feel like in terms of moving forward, sticking to a game plan, dictating tempo, and experience won the Fire this game. And for the first time this season, I feel like there were stretches of the game where the Lynx looked like they were taken out of their game. And I just feel like seeing the contrast between where the Lynx are and where the Fire and the Flyers are were challenges in round 4 for Perth. And I'm excited to see how they use those challenges and those experiences to look ahead to Melbourne on Sunday. This time it actually is at the Boombox. I think that's going to be an incredible game. You have this like young team that's been playing great basketball, coming off of 2 pretty devastating losses. And then you have Melbourne, who are undefeated. I feel like there's going to be a lot of contrast in tempo and experience, and I think it's just going to make for an incredible game.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
The Lightning of Adelaide are another team I'm pretty hopeful for. I feel like they're playing really solid basketball, and Steph Talbot's return will be a pretty necessary injection for a well-drilled unit. I still think there are some depth issues with this team, and also experience, and not really chemistry, but potentially chemistry in the current roles that the players have. And I feel like when Steph Talbot comes back in, there's 35 minutes a night at the 2 and the 3, potentially even the 4. But her ability to play in multiple positions and the trickle-down effect of that will be massive for this team. And it'll turn what has been an extremely fun team to watch into an even more fun team to watch. Aside from just the way Isabel Borlase has been playing with with the Lightning, she's a really promising player for the next 20 years of Australian basketball. So, yeah, her defensively, she's been so good this season, and offensively, she looks like she's been a professional like bucket getter for like 8 years. It feels like she's like in her mid to late 20s with first of all the versatility in her scoring game, but then also the consistency and the confidence she plays with. Like, she really isn't afraid to miss, and I mean that in the best way possible. And she has the stature of someone that can lead the league in scoring like year on year on year on year. And you blend that with a player like Brianna Turner, and good things are going to happen. Yeah, Turner's been just elite as a playmaker in the top of the key. Her work defensively and on the glass. She's just been like the ultimate teammate, and she sets up everyone with passes and screens. So it's nice to see how this team is developing as a unit, and hopefully with more time they can get some continuity and, of course, the return of Steph Talbot. But they really give themselves a chance to win every game, and you do that enough times, you play enough good basketball, you stay true to your game plan, and kind of to like, man, I'm gonna sound like an asshole here, but like staying true to like what makes basketball great and like to the essence of basketball, I feel like that then rewards you, because they don't cheat the game. They do everything the right way. They compete. And yeah, if you do that enough times, you end up beating a team like Southside. And you do not beat Southside by accident. They are one of the best teams in the league. Yeah, you don't do that by accident. You have to play a great basketball game to... Man, Perth played an incredible basketball game against Southside, and they lost by 2. So to win against Southside, you have to do the same stuff. You got to kind of get them as much as you can, get such an experienced team out of their rhythm, and you have to be playing the game on your terms for a good chunk of it, a majority of the game. So yeah, I think they are giving themselves the best chance to win every single week, and it'll reward them sporadically. I just feel as though they need some continuity, and they should be good with time. And I mean, for the third and final time, the what do you call it? The return of Steph Talbot will also help. Now, finally, the Bendigo Spirit. I feel like their best was on display in the first quarter against Melbourne, and this is a game they ended up losing, but Kelsey Griffin looked really comfortable, and she was firing. Ruth Davis just mashed anyone that was shorter than her. And Allie Wilson was kind of just like watching the game and doing the most subtle job of leading and filling any hole that needed to be filling. She finished a layup, hit both of her free throws, got a couple assists, a couple rebounds, a steal. And it was really the best case scenario for Alex Wilson as a Swiss Army knife. And yeah, they got out to a 30-16 lead at the end of the first quarter. But it felt like coming into the second quarter after the break, they kind of realized that they were up by so much, and it wasn't so much as they got complacent. I feel like they just didn't know what to do with the lead. And also they were coming up against Melbourne, and Melbourne do know what to do in a situation where they're down 14 points at the end of the first quarter. But I feel like if you can bottle up that first quarter, and I think that was their best. That matches up against every team. Like you can play good D, you can play good O, but if you're coming up against another team playing like Bendigo played that first quarter, you don't really have a good chance to win. So hopefully they can get a bit more consistency with that moving forward, because man, the league is great. Like, as this episode goes on, there's not really a team that I think is playing bad basketball. And every game has just been so much fun to watch. But yeah, I feel like hopefully Bendigo can start putting together longer stretches of good basketball. Like, like if they kept that up for even 3/4 of a game, they'd be close to 100 points. And they'd be winning comfortably against most teams in the league. So, yeah, this quarter was kind of the best case scenario, as I said before, for Alex Wilson, as that, she's not exactly a hole plugger, because she's so good at basketball. Yeah, she does it all. And she's so smart. She understands what her team needs of her. I do feel, though, when points do become an issue for Bendigo, which does happen from time to time, I think she just needs to be more selfish, and just with her shot. I feel like her movement patterns are so fluid, and she gets around defenders with ease, and she's always attacking the rim at a threatening angle. Like, she never gets rushed. She keeps her dribble. She's so in control of everything. And if she's one-on-one with a defender, she'll get to the rim. Like, she will get to the rim with a good look, free throws potentially, or a kick out to a shooter. And, or she'll just disrupt the D and get them all out of position. So I feel like, yeah, maybe like getting into a bit of a weave up the top and making the D have to readjust or pause for a second and just let her find the issue. Like, she sees the game so well. So just give her the ball in a situation where they're a bit out of position and let her exploit it. And yeah, the whole team will benefit from that. Sorry. It's also good to see Abby Wairung hitting on more threes. You just seriously, you can't go under her, because as soon as you make this decision to go under, she's going to put it up, and that's a great possession for Bendigo. If Abby Wairung is shooting an open three, the D has to have done something wrong, Bendigo has to have done something right, or a combination of the two. So yeah, it's nice to see them, to see her hitting on them. But yeah, after this first quarter, back to the game against Melbourne, the second quarter was 11-11, and which kept the Spirit up 41-27 at the half. But even with that 14-point advantage, it kind of looked like Bendigo were the ones trying to keep up, which, again, speaks to how good Melbourne's been at winning this season. And yeah, there's just this, Melbourne are playing the metagame every single time that they play. But moving forward, I feel like the main things for Bendigo would be, I think Ruth Davis just needs to dominate her matchup more often. Like, as soon as it isn't the preferred matchup for the D, just shoot over them. Like, it always feels like the opposition is in a compromising situation when Davis has someone that isn't the opposition big on her in the key. Just like turn to the ring and shoot. I'm like, yeah. I feel like you've done the work as Bendigo if you're able to get into that position. So just reward yourself. And also, I just feel like I haven't seen her miss in any of those opportunities. And yeah, when Bendigo is struggling to get points on the board, yeah, and I also think that Ali Wilson just needs to be, or look for her own shot when Bendigo is struggling to get points on the board. Because that's also, I feel like, that also feels like what their opponents are trying to avoid is Ali Wilson shooting, Ali Wilson getting to the cup. So yeah, man, I feel like all 8 teams are putting on a great show in the early season. And I think next episode we'll talk more about the top end of the league, Southside, Melbourne, Townsville. Hopefully Sydney will be stringing together some good basketball at that point, but I really think that it's going to be a second half of the season job for Sydney. And yeah, these teams that I feel like are, the more up and coming teams, the younger teams, the more inconsistent teams that just need to gain some familiarity and continuity, etc. All the things that I've highlighted in this episode, they bring such a spark to each game, and I don't know, there's just something you want to root for all of those teams, because when they are putting together their best basketball, it's like, damn, this league is amazing, and this league is amazing regardless. But you just, every game has been competitive, and you just want to see these teams that are just doing such good things for basketball and putting out such a good product. You want to see them get wins, at least I do, and it's just like, yeah, when Adelaide beats Southside, I mean, it's just so sweet when the underdogs win a game. So yeah, I guess I'll talk to you guys in a couple weeks' time. Potentially, probably with Marco. Who knows, man? Who knows what the future looks like? Oh, just focus on the present. Feel your 2 feet on the ground. Be where your feet are. Stuff like that. Anywho, that is way too much out of my mouth. Bye. See ya. Bye.